Welcome to this week's episode of Superhost Down Under. We have Emily and Eloi on the show. Welcome to the show.
Hi, guys.
And before we
Welcome.
before we jump into your story, we're going to talk about our topic of the week. Silvia, what is our topic for this week?
Yes. Ray, I'm going to say that I want to hear more details of your trip to Sydney recently when we caught up. But you were telling me about the Airbnb that you stayed at and that it was not as good as you had hoped or expected. But I didn't get to hear how it all ended up. So tell us.
Yeah, usually when I'm traveling, I stay at Airbnbs because as a superhost, you get a voucher every year for $100 for your stay. But it's just become part of my habit because it's also a good way to make sure you have like a little kitchen and it just feels more comfortable. So this time I was staying in Sydney in the Waterloo area. It was marketed as a shared home, but it was completely separate, like a granny flat. So you enter from the garage lane of at the back of the house, and so it looked really nice. It had great reviews, and then I was pleasantly surprised that there's no shared space. But after the first night, I realized I was getting ready for my day. I was taking a shower, and there's no hot water. And no matter how much I turned the hot water dial in the shower, no hot water was coming out. So even without any cold water, is barely coming out any water, and the water that was coming out was cold. Even running it for a few minutes. So like, can't say that like, oh, you just need to let it run, because I was letting it run. And then part-time, or now probably more full-ish time, I model, so I had to steam some clothes I needed to take to Newcastle. And as I was steaming my clothes, the circuit tripped, like the power, all the lights turned off. And so I then luckily steamed as much clothes as I could, and then I just used a different outlet. But I didn't know what happened. It was actually more of the power bar than this whole circuit. And then also on top of that, it was really humid because it was raining every single day, and the AC unit stopped working. It just said it was full, but I didn't know how to empty it, and I was in a hurry. So now it's super humid inside my unit. I'm showering cold water, and like only half the lights are working. And then I go to Newcastle for my shoot, and then I get all these I messaged my host, and I said, hey, there's no hot water. Also, the AC unit's full, and also like half the lights aren't working because I must have tripped something when I tried to steam my clothes. And he sent me the manual to the AC unit. He's like, here you go, like just follow the instructions. Which I was a bit offended, and I'm also driving on a freeway and I'm seeing these messages pop up on my phone. I was already a bit agitated because like I shouldn't have to maintain the AC unit. Like, one, I'm on holiday, but also like I don't have time to fix this. And by the time I got back, it would be midnight. So it's like, here's the manual, and then I didn't respond. And then I got another message that said, oh, you probably plugged it into the power bar, so you just need to like press the surge protector on the bar, and it's probably not all the lights. I was like, fine. And then the hot water is like, oh, actually, it's probably you just need to run it longer. So I didn't answer because I was driving 2 hours to Newcastle. Eventually he called me because I didn't answer, and I spoke to him. I said, listen, like I've run the water for a long time. I'm pretty sure there's a problem because not much water is coming out, and it's not warm. And he said, okay, I'll send a plumber. And then he's like, oh, the power bar is probably something you can solve, and then I'll fix the AC. So I get home that night after driving like to Newcastle, shooting for 6 hours, and then driving 2 hours back home, and my whole unit's super humid, and I try to turn on the AC and it says it's full. And I'm like, great, like I'm home, I'm so tired, like it's so uncomfortable in the humidity. So then I send a message with the photo in the app, so it's documented. I'm like, it says it's full. So then he comes knocking on my door, and then like I go to the back of the unit, there's two knobs, I unlock both of them, and like one of them water comes out, so I have a little tray and I'm emptying it into a bigger bucket, and then it starts working, and I was like, it's okay, I got it working. But that AC unit would fill up like overnight. So in the morning, it would just shut off, and this unit would fill itself out like after a couple of hours. And it's on the ground, so it didn't have the tube to drain. So I just had to, every time I used it, I had to tilt this heavy machine to drain it. But he fixed the hot water, and I fixed the power bank, or like the power point. But all these things added together was so frustrating because it's very stressful when you're trying to get stuff done, but you're uncomfortable, you're showering in cold water and you can't get your stuff done. It just really ruined my experience. But I wrote a very fair response. I said it's still really good value because I think I was only paying like $100 a night for a private space. And I said it was like it was described like there is an AC unit, it just doesn't work very well. And then in the comments, I wrote like the AC unit does work, you just need to manually empty it every day. And the owner was very receptive and like did fix the hot water problem. So yeah, I think those were my 3 things on my trip. Silvia, so what do you think?
Well, I'm a real believer that when a guest arrives, everything should be set up and ready for them, and they don't have to fiddle around and try to work things out. It's you're there for whatever reason, and you want to get on with what you want to do and not be doing property management or maintenance and repairs when you're on holidays. So, but I experienced the same thing in an Airbnb in Italy, where we arrived and there was no hot water. And that drove us crazy because we just wanted to get in, shower and go out. And it was very complicated to get that sorted, and we wasted a lot of time. So I understand that frustration. Just yesterday, in fact, in my own shared Airbnb home, the power outlets stopped working so my apartment has 2 zones, front and back, and the back zone, the power points stopped working. But I got onto it, and I mean, it took a lot of my time to sort it out, but I saw it. It is my issue. I am the host. These guests had just arrived. I knew it wasn't anything they had done because I had realised just before they arrived, and I got it fixed within hours. But it took a lot of dedication, and that is part of the issue because you've got to call up tradespeople, find out their availability. The first tradesperson I called was on holidays, so then you need to call another one. And it does take a lot of time, but I still don't think it's up to the guest to have to try and fix things and sort it out.
Yeah, sure. How about you guys, Emily, Eloi? What are your thoughts on these types of things?
I agree with what you said because to your point, if a guest is coming to check in into your property, everything should be ready, especially if it's the way that you have advertised it as well. Like you have to make sure because people book your place or choose to stay with you based on what you have listed and what you offer. So it should be in working condition. That's 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
That being said, we did have in our own properties, we did have 2 instances. So even though we check our T's, crossed our O's, made sure everything was fine and ready to go, we missed TV cable for one of the apartments, and the guest literally walked in, and that was the first thing they wanted to do was turn on their live TV. So we were like, "Ooh, sorry, forgot about that." So I had to go quickly go to Officeworks, get the cable, and install it for them, which took 5 minutes, but still it was an inconvenience. And the other thing, back to your AC issues, right? We had in one of our apartments, the central AC was blocked. Like it didn't work. It didn't want to respond to the guest pressing any of the buttons. So we had to remotely just look up what the unit brand was and the model. And luckily enough, it was like a 5-second fix. And I was able to find like the quick instruction, which was literally just hold 2 buttons for like 5 seconds and it would reset it. But again, it's one of those things where everything should be ready. As much as you're checking everything, everything should be ready for the guests to arrive and just go on with their day.
Yeah, and if it's not working, you should step in to help your guests, not send them a manual. Yeah, exactly. That was kind of insulting. I'm like, but I'm paying. Like, I shouldn't be fixing things. Like, I'm paying to stay. But that's our story for this week. Let's jump into your portfolio that you've built together. That you are siblings, and over a short period of time, you've accumulated several properties and set them up. Tell us a little bit about the beginning. Like, how did this all get started?
I go?
Yeah.
So it started a little bit with me initially. So I've always had a love for properties. I have some of my own, and I just wanted to keep getting more and more properties. So I remember one day I was talking to Eloi, and I said to him, I want to have more properties, and I need to look into what can I do to get more and more. So anyway, one thing led to another. Spent some time on Instagram. I was looking at some of the videos where I saw people mentioning about Airbnb arbitrage. So did more digging, spoke to Eloi about it, and one thing led to another, where we ended up joining a community that pretty much do something similar to this, and we learn from each other. So all this started, I would say, within a week of me finding the community,
that was
and
pretty quick.
yeah, we got busy since then.
Like it would have started. So to give you a full timeline, sorry, Silvia, to give you a full timeline, it would have been like August last year. So around August last year, she kind of dabbed on the idea, then brought me into the conversation. And what happened is that we just started reading online, trying to figure out how it would work, what we would have to do, what systems would have to be in place. Do we have to do it under our names? Do we have to set up a company? Like, what kind of softwares would we have to use? What would be the implications? Because we both, at the time, we were working full-time, and we're still working full-time until today. So
wow, congratulations.
We work Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 in our respective roles. And yeah, it was trying to figure out that leap of faith of what to do to make sure that we could handle both worlds as much as possible, without having the case of the guest where you walk in and something doesn't work and you're like, oh, I need to go and fix that. So
the community that you found, that was for arbitrage?
Yeah, that's correct. So it's pretty much everyone in that community.
And for the listeners who aren't familiar with the arbitrage model, can you explain it to us?
Absolutely. So in a nutshell, we would go and inspect a property with a real estate agent, and following the landlord's approval, when we put for our application as tenant, we would get an agreement to sublease the property. So then we would be allowed to sublet it on Airbnb, VRBO, Booking.com, all those platforms. And we're still a full-time tenant. So for the duration of the lease, we're still paying the rent, but then we're also having the property advertised on the booking platforms. So we have different guests walking in and out.
So you're signing a lease as a tenant for a long term, 6 months, 12 months, whatever. And then you have it in writing from the landlord or landlady that you are able to put it for short-term rental or mid-term rental for both. Yeah. And how easy has it been to get those listings? You're averaging about one a month.
It wasn't easy to start with. I think we have done about maybe easily at the beginning, I would say 50 to 100 inspection. Like I remember we used to sit on Friday night, because when we would finish work, both of us. So Friday night, we would have the list of each properties that we wanted to inspect. We'll have the time. So Saturday was inspection day for us, because we couldn't do anything during the week. And then we would start at 9 o'clock and finish by 2 o'clock. And we would have done so many inspection. Eloise going to some, I'm going to some, and then come back home and just apply for whatever we like. So it was, I think, nearly every Saturday for 2 months. We just kept doing that every single Saturday. And
it was difficult in the sense that we had to try and talk to the agent, try and understand, okay, so you're the agent of this property. would you know if the landlord would be comfortable with an arrangement of sorts, and how would it work? And some agents were really like, it was just a normal conversation. So some agents were really responsive to it. They would just tell us, hey, it's not really something we deal with as a brand, but maybe if you try and look somewhere else or try and approach it in a different way. But then some of the agents would just be very abrupt and just tell us, no, we can't do that. The landlord would not agree. So yeah, we just kept trying until we finally got the first one, and it just snowballed from there.
What were you doing before? What were your careers?
So we're both in sales.
That's great.
She's in insurance, so life insurance, and I'm in scientific products, so like test tubes and piece of machinery and whatnot.
Okay. And you said you now have left full-time work, like you're working full-time until now, or no, you're still doing full-time?
Still
working full-time.
Still working full-time.
And what's the goal? Like, what's that, to keep building or to eventually quit your full-time jobs? Like, what is the end goal of this?
So I think because, especially with me, I've been in my role for 15 years. So I think it's just, like you said, it's trusting what you're doing. But I think I'll start with going part-time first to start with, and then gradually just, releasing. And then I think, you will end up doing the same too.
Nice. And you've named it Sable and Stone Stays. Where did this name come from?
So
you go first. You go first.
So I'm sure you can hear we have a French background, so we wanted to keep the French as part
lovely
of
accent
of who we are and what we do. So for us, Sable and Stone, it had a translation, of course, in French, but it's a bit of a mixture of how Eloi and I are. We're very opposite when it comes to
risk, personalities, and so it would be like it was the contrast between like sable, so like sable, which is sand in French, and stone, which is more solid, rigid, doesn't want to move. So it's kind of like that contrast between the two.
And you said,
so who's Sable and who's Stone?
Stone is him.
It works. It's a funny dynamic, but it does work in the sense that Emilie will be like, let's do this and let's do that. I'll be like, maybe we should think about this. Maybe we should think about that. I'm the grandpa, and she's more of a butterfly trying to figure out how to make things work.
And you said that once you got your first one, it started to snowball. So what did you learn in your pitching that helped you refine a better closing rate with these agents? Like, what, for those listeners who want to pursue this, like, what are the things you learned and refined that just makes you more effective when getting the second, third, and fourth ones?
So with the first one, there was a lot of driving and commitment, but I think what helps with you getting more properties after is that first one end up being like your reference every time. So because it's one real estate
credibility, you're like, I already do this. Like, look over here, social proof.
So one person has already said yes to them. Why not be the second? And then by the time you get to your third, they go, okay, hang on, there is a system.
You're a business.
Trusting them, correct. So it works. And then we end up sometimes getting phone calls from real estate instead of us being the one that chased.
Wow.
The last 2-3.
The last 2-3 were people saying, hey, before it goes on market, we have a property, are you guys interested? Which is something that I never thought would happen.
So cool. And do you spend any money on advertising, or do they just find you?
Pardon?
Do you spend money on advertising your business, or do they just find you organically?
It was word of mouth, and then also because we're growing in that space and we're meeting new people every day, meeting new real estate agents, but it's also the old ones, so the one that we do have properties with at the moment, they'll be referring us to people saying, hey,
with their landlords,
these guys are okay, they can take care of your property, they actually care.
So you might have one or two agents that you particularly work with that keep contacting you with more properties.
So pretty much see it as like a network, and you just start with the one, then you get a second one, and you just keep growing from there, pretty much.
Yeah. I'm from a real estate background, and I'm not experienced in Victoria, but I am in New South Wales, and I was in sales, not in property management, so I'm talking more about property management. To have a landlord agree to you as a tenant, you need to show income and assets, and there's a whole list of things, as you know, that you're employed. So I'm just wondering how you get around that, and that's why I asked the question about, is it one or two agents that now trust you and know how you operate? Because if you just approached, you know, a general real estate office, I think they, A, would they understand the model? And B, because, well, you've got a full-time job now, but if they know that you're actually committed to paying all this money to all different properties, I just wonder if that makes them nervous about you, or you know, you don't have that issue at all.
So it is a problem when it comes to that. But I guess the one thing that, like you said, so we do provide the information. We do provide, hey, this is the finances, this is the assets, this is what we can kind of provide to prove that we will be capable of sustaining the rent for the property. And we do that even for the properties that come to us, for lack of a better word. We still provide the same amount of details. We still provide the same amount of documentation. It's not just a phone call done deal. Like, we will go through the whole process of like inspect and make sure we apply. We do the same thing as like a normal tenant. It's just at the end of the day, it's up to the landlord if they want to go with us or someone else. But the agent already has us in mind when it comes to certain properties.
Silvia, lag with your phone. Can you switch to 4G or like 5G and off the Wi-Fi on your phone? So we talked about your company and the story behind it. Tell us a little bit about being able to work as a pair, as siblings, and how your roles and responsibilities are shared for this. I can't do this with my sister, so I'm very she doesn't even listen to my podcast, so it's fine. Sorry, sis.
The funny thing is, there's actually 11 years difference between the two of us.
Okay.
So he's the much younger brother.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it just, at the beginning, don't get me wrong, and even till today, like sometimes we have, like even when we're having conversation, I need to talk to you as my brother, or I need to talk to you as my business partner. So then we can separate the two, because it does get very overwhelming, if that makes sense, because we have different conversation. But it started with learning, I think, and understanding each other, but also because there is that age gap. It's pretty much, I saw Eloi grow up, so it's knowing how he works, how his brain works, how he handles things, and it just
it does work. I mean, I guess the advantage we have as siblings, and even with the other one, is that we've always been very close. Like, we've always been together. We have our differences and whatnot, but we always stick together. So it was one of those things that kind of gave us an edge when it came to this venture. But yeah, in terms of like what we do on a day-to-day basis, she's more of a artsy one, where she will see an apartment, she will see an empty room, and she's like, couch is there, bed is here, I want this painting, I want this lamp. Whereas I will be more of a IT guy. I'm in the background and I'm like, okay, let me plug this and this so that works, so that doesn't crash. And then I'm like, oh, but we have this software, so how does this one work with that? Yeah, so
you buy the furniture for the properties?
Yes.
You
I
don't
spend
look
a lot
for
of time.
Yeah.
So Emilie did spend a lot of time thinking, and we did debate it a lot in terms of the options we had were to either rent the furniture, which we know a lot of people do, especially in that space, given that it's a tenancy, so like a lease. So after the lease is up, you could just give the furniture away. So that would be if it was rented. Then we could get the furniture itself, so just buy it upright. Or the other option we had was to look for piece of furniture on Facebook Marketplace. So you do find some good stuff, but then we tried it, but after seeing the furniture in person, we're like, no, we're not really okay with that. Because as part of our brand, and Emilie is very strong on it, and so am I, to a certain extent, we want to uphold a certain standard. We want things to be very comfortable for the guests. We want the guests to know that, hey, they're paying for a service, but they're paying for a product, they're actually getting the value worth out of it.
What about furnished properties? I don't know if that's a thing in Victoria or Melbourne.
Yeah.
That are up for rent.
Yeah. So we tried that once where someone said to us that the property, if you do want, it comes with, it's furnished. And Eloi called me and he's like, we have a property. If you want, it's furnished. And I was like, okay, cool. And I walked inside the property and I was like, oh no.
Yeah,
no.
it's not your style, your brand.
So the agent ended up having to remove everything. And he's like, that goes against the point. But then he worked well with me and I was like, you know what? It doesn't suit the brand. So
yeah.
We did think about it at the very beginning, especially when we were first looking, because we were like, hey, it's true. It would be easier. We would be cutting corners. It would make us go faster. But the trade-off was way too big in the sense that we wouldn't be comfortable knowing that, hey, let's say the TV unit is not the best and the TV could be on an angle, so the person would be watching the television like this. So yeah, we just agreed that every property would be styled / furnished by us, just to make sure that we know everything is up. Yeah.
And you said you need to figure out like the right structure. So did you form a private company or are you a partnership? Like what is your business structured as? What kind of entity?
The easiest thing we thought about doing was just to create a private company, so like a proprietary limited, and we just set it up and just left it there. The reason behind it was more so the brand. So what we realized is that if you go to an agent, if anyone wants to do it and is listening to our podcast, if you go to an agent and you start talking about Airbnb arbitrage and stuff like that, as a person, you don't have a lot of credibility, but saying that, hey, it would be under a company structure where there's like multiple processes in place. So if something was to go wrong, there would be fail safes. It can help in the pitch and it can help in the conversation.
And you also you do both short-term and mid-term stays. Tell us a little bit about how you balance that and how you came to that setup.
So it's one of those things that at the very beginning, we were aiming for longer stays. I mean, until today, we do want longer stays. It makes it easier for cleaning, so we don't have to have as many cleans throughout the month. And I think wear and tear and just knowing that it's just the 1 or 2 guests in the unit or the property. But we do get a mixture across our portfolio. We do get a mixture throughout the months of either short-term and mid-term. So like longer stays, shorter stays. And yeah, it's just because we spent a lot of time setting all the processes in place. So like the cleaning team and the softwares that we use to have a synchronized calendar and tasks so that everyone is across the same page. It makes it easier to have everything automated to a certain extent.
And with that, with the people who are staying longer with the short-term levy that came in recently, or like last year, I guess, do you offer discounts for those staying longer because there is no levy to incentivize that, and also you don't have cleaning?
So we do offer bigger discounts. So how it works is that the shorter the stay, the less discounted it is, but the longer it is, the more discounted the price will be at the end. And we do that for all our properties just to kind of incentivize people for longer period. And it makes it more fair. It's like you're staying for a long time, we're helping you, you're helping us. No reason not to.
And operationally, how do you manage all the cleaning and the checkouts and the communications between you two who have full-time jobs?
Well, luckily there are multiple softwares that we're using at the moment. So we do have a property, it's called a PMS. So it's a property management system. That could be your guesty, host away, and different softwares. So how it works is that it's set as an umbrella. So it sits at the top and it controls all the listings in the different platforms. So whether it be Airbnb, Booking.com, VRBO, and what it does is that it synchronizes the calendars across all those listings. Mm-hmm. Let's say tomorrow we had a booking for a week in property 1 on Booking.com, then that week would be blocked on Airbnb automatically. But then if we had an Airbnb booking in that same property after the Booking.com, vice versa, they keep talking to each other. Mm. So it just helps us having a greater exposure. So we're on more platforms, but then everything is synchronized, so there's no double bookings and it doesn't get to that one. So then there are multiple things out there. So everyone uses, especially in that place, they use different things. Some people use dynamic pricing. So on Airbnb, as you would know, you can just set one price for the week and one price for the weekend. And some people, what they do is that they will have a dynamic pricing, which means that another software will be added on the property management software to control each listing's prices. And it changes based on events, demand, or how booked or not booked you are and the capacity. And it does so automatically. You still have to go in there and fiddle with it, play with the price a little bit to try and get booked, but it does make a difference so that it's not a flat rate and it makes it more alive.
Very good. And how do you make sure that all the properties are like clean to the right quality and ready for check-in and check-outs and things like that? Because I use a co-host for my property and they have internal cleaners. So then they have their checklists and their WhatsApp group and they all take photos and then someone monitors it and they clean in pairs. And so like, I know my system, but like, what are your systems?
So the cleaning company that we use end up using that same software that we have. So they know when the guests are checking out, if there's a late checkout and whatnot. So we don't have to communicate with them every time. But the cleaning company is actually ours. So we became partners with a friend that is doing something similar to what we're doing. And pretty much the cleaners are, so they have been retrained by me because I have a certain level of cleanliness that I need to make sure that is, handled and met. So I'm the one that goes sometime to do the random check on each property to make sure that everything has been done the correct way. But after each clean, they have a system where they need to send us the pictures and it's date and time stamped as well. And then making sure that, of course, like rubbish has been taken. So we get a before and after just to make sure that everything has been taken care of. So don't get me wrong, we do get about 100 pictures a day. So everything is good. It's good. Yeah.
It sounds like a lot, but once you get in the rhythm of it, it just flows.
It just flows.
Like some days, and it's part of it, as you would know, like some days are very cruisy, quiet, everything is fine, everyone is happy, there's not a problem in the world, and then some days it's just like Emily will call me and be like, we have a problem, and I'm like, I know.
How do you divide up the tasks? I understand Emily goes to check the properties occasionally, but all the other tasks, the messaging, the everything else that's involved, putting the listing up, all the IT work, how do you divide it all up?
So for the messages, what we have also done, because as we mentioned, we both work full time, so we cannot be on our phone 24/7. So what we did is, and that was again with learning on the go as more and more properties got added. So what we did is we hired some virtual assistants to help us. So we have someone that works the morning shift and someone that works the evening shift. But then if there's anything that they cannot answer, because of course they're not here with us, that's when they know to tag us. So then we can jump in if there's something that they don't know how to handle. So we did think at the beginning we could do everything, but you just cannot do everything. It's not possible. Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, we still want to offer a really nice experience to our guests. We want them to feel comfortable. We want them to not have any reason at the end of the day to try and reach out to us because there's no problem. But there's always something that might happen and they might have a quick question in the moment that we've missed. And having a VA definitely helps because they can take over the messages when we're busy doing something else.
and listing the properties, writing about the properties, that's where Eloi step in. So we separated, you asked before, cleaning, how the property look is me, and those things are Eloi. Yeah.
Very good. And what does this year look like for you? Where do you expect to be by the end of this year in your portfolio?
So I will answer this because Eloi is the risk adverse. So the goal.
I'm sweating already.
The goal that I said to him at the beginning of this year, I said to him, I was like, I'm very driven. As you know, we're both in sales, so I need a goal to look forward to. So the aim is to have 30 properties by the end of this year.
Wow.
And then after that, we will try to move overseas and interstate. Yeah.
Okay. Nice. And will you keep your full-time jobs?
No.
I think when we reach that level, I think something will have to give. So revisit then. Right now, it's been rather okay having the full-time job and Airbnb on the side, but it's that balance where at the beginning you need the cash flow, right? So like obviously you need to have the full-time job to finance the new venture until the baby becomes a toddler, becomes an adolescent, and then can walk as an adult. Then we can do the full switch. So.
Excellent.
And who works on the figures, such as, you've got to pay the rent and then working out how much you can charge for the nightly rate and whether the property is profitable or not?
That's me. So again, I go in the background. I make sure that everything's automated as much as possible when it comes to the numbers, like the payments and bills and whatnot. But once you start having a few properties, it's the really important thing is to stay on top of it. Know when the rent is coming out, how much is coming out every month, the utilities, who are you with, and how everything is kind of intertwined and how it works. But once
the daily breakdown, that's the one that worked for us. So when
that too.
You asked the question, how do we know how much to charge? So what we started doing is all the expenses that we have, including your rent, your water, electricity, and whatnot. So we, instead of looking at it as a whole month, let's say, for example, the expenses are $4,000 each month, we started breaking it down per day. So when we divide it per day, then it's a more realistic figure. Instead of us looking for that big $4,000, it's the breakdown daily makes things easier on your brain, on everything.
Yeah, so we know, for example, at a minimum every day for the span of 31 days, we need, let's say, $110. And
Interesting.
Mm. And so far, all 7 properties are profitable?
Yeah.
That's great. Well done.
We're not in the sports car or in the villa in Bali yet, but it's slowly getting there, which is,
slow and steady.
But with 30 properties, once you get the 30, so that's another 2 per month.
Yes.
That's a lot of viewings you have to go to.
Yeah. It's okay. The year just started. We get there.
Yes.
What advice do you have for other people who want to get into this way of running Airbnb, into using the arbitrage model?
It is hard. It is hard work. There's a lot of hard work required, especially at the beginning. And then as you keep going, there's still more work needed, but it's like running. It gets easier. The more you do it and the more you stick to it, consistency is the important part. It does get easier, but be ready to put in the work, which is the thing that we both discovered at the beginning, which was it tested us a few times, the amount of work, like setting up properties, and obviously because we're still working full-time and whatnot, so being up till like 1 a.m, 2 o'clock, building a bedside table, and you're just sitting there wondering if it's going to be worth it. Just stick to it.
And just try. If you don't try, you will never know.
nothing bad can happen out of it.
Nothing.
I'm not saying it's like at the end of the day, it's true. If you do have one property, it's a lease. Yes, there's the furniture, but there's always a solution. There's always hope at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah,
I like the model that your model, the arbitrage, because if there's, apart from everything else, but if there's repairs and maintenance, the landlord pays for it. I like that, because if it's your own property, you have to pay for it.
or if interest rates go up.
That's the other thing as well, and it's having insurance. And of course, I do work in that industry. I'm a very firm believer of insurance. You have your insurance from the minute you start, because if something was to happen, that's when insurance come and help you. So
Right.
you know you're protected. So if you do everything right, if something happened, if there's a water leak in the house, the insurance will be there as well. Like, it's not on you for every single thing. But it's there's a lot of expenses, but once you have that system, it works.
But again, at the end of the day, like, because we do care about the properties, because it was so hard to get them, like every single one of them, it was so hard to get them and it was so much work. We do keep the communication open with the agents. We'll be like, hey, this thing broke, we can get it fixed, and we will do so, and we're just letting you know. Like, there's no need to get, please let the landlord know, please do whatever you need to do, but it's already been fixed, don't worry about it. Just to try and keep that relationship where, obviously, we're not here to just take the property, damage it, and then move on with our lives. We actually care, and we want to make sure that everything is in working order and everyone is happy, pretty much.
Yeah. Were you profitable at the very first property, including all your other costs? Or like, what would you say was a tipping point when it started?
It takes time. Time is a big factor here, like, because as you would know, having a property on Airbnb, there's a bit of momentum. So you need to have the first reviews, you need to have the first bookings, and then it kind of like snowball where the algorithm will push you more and more up on the views. But yeah, it is. We went a little bit with a different strategy where we didn't necessarily work profitable and then got the next one. Emilie had a different idea in mind.
I remember the first property that we set up, because it's your first one, you're excited, you just want it live, it's all the hard work that you have put, you didn't sleep for days. And I remember we put it on and didn't remember to change the price based on weekend, or if it was Easter or Christmas. Yeah. The first 3 people booked, I was like, it's like we're paying them to stay in the house. And I was like, and that's when, you start reading and you take a step back and you go, okay, hang on, you learn from it. What did we do wrong? How do we make it better? Okay, next property, that didn't happen. Yeah. But your first one, it's your trial. And then, like, you can only go up from there. It's not end of the world.
That happens to a lot of people when they first put a listing on. Suddenly, the weeks of the Australian Open get booked in minutes at, standard prices.
Yeah.
Well, was there anything else you wanted to mention before we wrap up, Emilie and Eloi?
I think it's what I know I mentioned it before. It's trying. Like, you know what, if you're there, you're trying something. If you don't try, you will never know. And you rather try than think, 10 years later, if I didn't try, or if I did try, what would have happened? So that's pretty much what I have.
Good on
Silvia. Any other questions, Silvia?
Well, I know you've got a website, your website, Sable and Stone Stays. So if anyone, if any agent wants to rent a property to you as your wonderful tenants, they can contact you through there. And I noticed that you do have a section for landlords, and otherwise all your properties are advertised on the short-term rental platforms. That all works well for you, I'm sure. And coming from a sales background myself, I know the skills that you do develop in sales, and that's, such as reading people and all the skills to have motivation, goals, make things happen. And I found that with myself, I could go from one industry to the other with those skills that I developed, but especially people skills. So I see you as being a big success.
Thank you.
And I wish you guys the very best. We'll put all your details in the show notes, and we'll stay in touch.
Thank
Awesome.
you.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.